but after I meet him, if indeed he does condescend to appear, I shall endeavour to seem excited for you. Will that suffice?" Sophia laughed. "Must you always talk such nonsense?" "I'm afraid I must, if only to balance some of the prosiness of ordinary conversation." The younger girl's brows knit together. "Oh, no!" "What is it?" "Now we know the Earl shall attend, whatever shall I wear?" Sophia soon swept from the house in a flutter of muslin and ecstasy, leaving Lavinia to open the window, drink in the delightful scent of the late flowering lilacs, and then exchange her embroidery for her sketchbook. As she sketched the glorious rainbow of pansies cascading down the garden's rock wall, she thought on the Earl of Hawkesbury she had once known. Lord Robert had been as kind as her father, generous, interested in his neighbours, seeking the well-being of his tenants in the local village of Hampton Heath. A truly good man. But his death 2 years ago had precipitated a series of family tragedies. George, his younger brother, had died of influenza within 6 months of inheriting the title. Less than a year later, while his younger son had been engaged in heavy fighting on the peninsula, George's elder son, James, had been killed in a hunting accident. Her fingers clenched. His death she could not even pretend to mourn. A blur of tan and white fur leapt through the open window. Mickey barked and jumped onto her lap as if sensing her disquietude. She hugged him close as her art pencils spilled to the floor. Perhaps Sophia and her parents were right to be excited about the district's new addition. Lately, Hampton Hall had taken on a slightly neglected look, thanks to the bailiff's less than stellar efforts. And the family's prolonged absence meant the little things Lord Robert formerly noted, such as cottage roof repairs and sending baskets at Christmas time to the poor, services that made a great difference in the lives of the less fortunate. These things had been missed. If the new Earl fulfills his obligations, he might prove a blessing, Mickey. He barked his agreement, wriggled away, and dashed through the open window to the tangled underbrush of the rose garden beyond. Tangled underbrush she would resume clearing this afternoon, when Papa and Aunt Patience were sure to be absent and unable to object. She returned her attention to her sketchbook, working to capture the purple heart of a pansy, until the swish of skirts announced her aunt's arrival. "So, little Sophia hopes to snag herself a Hawkesbury, does she?" "I don't believe Sophie has any such idea, although Lady Milton may." An appreciative twinkle lit her aunt's deep blue eyes. Over the past 14 years, Lavinia had learned many things from this independent, intelligent woman, yet sometimes she still found it difficult to believe that Patience West was Mamma's sister. Mamma had lived up to her name. Grace had filled everything from her musical voice to her pretty mannerisms and her compassion for others. Patience's forthright, practical ways contrasted as strongly as her dark hair differed from Mamma's, and Lavinia's own, fairness. "That woman would be far better off teaching her daughters useful accomplishments and knowledge, rather than filling their heads with frippery and empty dreams." Aunt Patience smoothed her severe grey dress, which matched Lavinia's. Lavinia gestured to the discarded needlepoint. "Useful accomplishments." A thin smile escaped her aunt's lips. "One of these days, my dear girl, you will realise that not every worthwhile endeavour can be as enjoyable as writing letters to the Times." Memories arose of the past week's efforts to bring solace to 2 poor tenant families. Endeavours of far greater worth than needlepoint, and far from pleasant. The sour stench of sickness only slightly alleviated by the aroma of the hearty beef stew she'd brought. Dark, dank cottages filled with a dense chill no fire could chase away. The sad-eyed desperation of wee children who seemed to suspect their mother might die soon. The old ache rippled across Lavinia's soul. Tears pricked. She blinked them away. The Earl simply must help. Her aunt patted her arm. "Worthy endeavours are most often rather less than enjoyable." Lavinia nodded. Good deeds were not about personal pleasure, but pleasing God. Visiting the sick, biting one's tongue, rooting out envy, forgiving enemies, and allowing the past to remain buried in the churchyard. The 7th Earl of Hawkesbury leaned back in his saddle.